Welcome back to the Senior Strength Show, where ancient wisdom and modern science come together to redefine aging through nutrition. It's Wednesday today, and we're diving into a topic that's more urgent than most people realize: aging from the inside out. You see, while most seniors focus on treating the symptoms of aging, fatigue, brain fog, poor sleep, joint pain, few realize there are specific foods that are silently accelerating those problems. And what's more troubling, these foods aren't rare. They're sitting in most kitchens right now. They seem innocent, even healthy, but inside the body, they trigger inflammation, oxidative stress, and cellular breakdown. The very things we're trying to avoid if we want to stay sharp, active, and independent after 60. Today, we're joined again by one of the world's most respected voices in longevity research. He's taught for decades, still walks daily at over 100 years old, and continues to remind us aging is not something that happens to us. It's something we can influence, one bite at a time. Doctor, welcome back.
Thank you, John. It's good to be here, especially for this topic, because it's one of the most misunderstood. Many people think of aging as purely genetic, but from what we now know, through both science and traditional medicine, aging is deeply shaped by our daily eating patterns, what we put in, what we avoid, and when we eat. And the first food on today's list? Well, it's the one that probably accelerated aging faster than anything else in the 20th century.
So, we talk about the first food, sugar and refined carbohydrates.
That's right. Sugar, and especially refined carbs like white rice, white bread, and sweetened drinks, are what we call silent saboteurs. They don't just spike blood sugar. They interfere with your body's ability to repair itself at night, which is critical after age 60. Here's how it works. When you eat sugar, it triggers a rapid rise in glucose. That might give you energy in the moment, but it also causes a process called glycation, where sugar molecules stick to proteins in your body, forming compounds called AGEs, or advanced glycation end products. AGEs are nasty. They damage collagen in your skin, stiffen your arteries, irritate your joints, and even affect brain function.
Dr. David Sinclair, a professor of genetics at Harvard and one of the leading voices in aging research, said this very clearly. The big killer is sugar, especially fructose. It's toxic at the cellular level. And get this, a study in the New England Journal of Medicine found that older adults with even mildly elevated blood sugar had a 40% faster rate of cognitive decline than those with stable glucose. That's just from sugar alone.
But doctor, what about people who say, I just have a small bowl of rice at night or a glass of juice with dinner?
That's where the trouble lies. Most seniors metabolize sugar less efficiently with age. And when you consume sugar in the evening, you're setting up your body for overnight glucose crashes. Your brain senses that drop, and what does it do? It activates stress hormones like cortisol and norepinephrine, keeping you alert, restless, and in many cases, waking you up to use the bathroom or just lie there wide awake.
So you're saying this one food group affects not just the body, but also sleep, brain repair, and even mood?
Exactly. It's all connected. And the good news is, when we eliminate, or at least reduce these foods, the difference is often felt within days.
So what's a better choice for seniors looking to reverse that damage?
One of my go-to recommendations is something simple: chia seed pudding, made with unsweetened almond milk, a pinch of cinnamon, and maybe a few berries. Chia seeds are rich in soluble fiber, which slows digestion and sugar absorption. They also hold water, up to 12 times their weight, so they provide hydration slowly without flooding the bladder. That makes them excellent for blood sugar control and overnight stability. One of my patients, Margaret, 72, switched from her usual bowl of sweetened cereal to chia pudding just 2 hours before bed. Within a week, she stopped waking up multiple times at night, and after 2 weeks, she said her energy in the morning felt like it did in her 50s.
That's incredible. And honestly, chia seeds aren't expensive or hard to find.
Not at all. And like many things in aging well, it's not about exotic superfoods. It's about small, consistent choices that restore rhythm to the body.
That brings us to the second food group blocking healthy aging, and this one tends to surprise people. It's not sugar, it's not fast food, it's actually something many seniors were taught to eat more of as they age. We're talking about processed meats and excessive animal protein.
Now, before anyone gets defensive, this isn't an attack on meat itself. The issue here is how much, what kind, and how often. And after 60, that makes a big difference.
Exactly. In small, high-quality amounts, lean animal protein can still support muscle maintenance. But for most seniors, the Western diet includes far more animal protein than the body actually needs, and far more processed versions like bacon, sausages, deli meats, and canned meats.
What's wrong with those?
Well, the first problem is inflammation. Processed meats are high in compounds like nitrites and AGEs, those same advanced glycation end products we just discussed. They drive oxidative stress, harm the gut lining, and elevate systemic inflammation. Over time, that leads to joint pain, slower tissue repair, and even cognitive decline. But there's a second layer, the mTOR pathway. This is a cellular signaling pathway that gets activated by amino acids, especially from animal sources. Now, in youth, activating mTOR supports growth and repair.
But as we age, excessive mTOR activation suppresses longevity genes like sirtuins and pushes the body into a constant growth state rather than maintenance and repair.
In plain terms, too much meat too often tells your cells to age faster.
That's what Harvard's David Sinclair explains too. He says,
"When I switched mostly to plant-based protein, my energy improved, my skin improved, and my markers of aging started reversing."
And let's not forget, the longest-lived populations in the world, from Okinawa to Sardinia, all eat very small amounts of animal protein, often just a few times a week. Their diets are rich in legumes, greens, and plant-based proteins like tofu, lentils, and fermented soy. So what do you recommend seniors eat instead? Plant-based proteins are a great place to start. Things like lentils and mung beans, tofu and edamame, quinoa, chickpeas, and tempeh. These options have a gentler amino acid profile, lower inflammation, and support blood sugar stability overnight. One of my patients, Robert, age 68, was eating bacon or pork at least twice a day. He switched to a barley lentil bowl for dinner and tofu stir-fry at lunch. Within 3 weeks, he reported sleeping more deeply, having less joint stiffness in the morning, and most remarkably, his CRP inflammation markers dropped by over 50%. That's an impressive shift from such a simple swap.
Yes, and again, it's not about completely cutting out animal protein. It's about shifting the ratio. Choose wild-caught fish like salmon once or twice a week. Go for quality, avoid the processed versions, and let plants do most of the work.
Let's move on to food number 3. And this one hides in more places than most people realize. You won't just find it in fast food. You'll find it in salad dressings, frozen meals, even so-called healthy snacks. We're talking about industrial seed oils, things like soybean oil, corn oil, canola, sunflower, and safflower oil.
That's right. These oils are everywhere in modern food production. And while they were once promoted as heart-healthy alternatives to animal fats, we now know that seed oils are actually one of the most pro-inflammatory substances in the modern diet, especially for older adults.
And what makes them so harmful?
It starts with their omega-6 content. These oils are extremely high in linoleic acid, a type of omega-6 fat that's very unstable. When exposed to heat, like during frying or processing, it oxidizes, creating free radicals that damage your cells from the inside. And when omega-6 intake is high, especially without balancing omega-3s, it creates a state of chronic inflammation. Over time, that damages tissues, disrupts blood vessels, and even impairs the brain's repair mechanisms.
And that inflammation isn't always obvious, is it?
No, and that's the dangerous part. Chronic inflammation is often silent, but it's at the root of many age-related conditions. joint pain, memory decline, digestive issues, even heart disease. There's a fascinating study in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology that found replacing just 5% of calories from seed oils with extra virgin olive oil led to a 34% lower risk of cardiovascular events and a 29% reduction in inflammatory markers. That's significant, especially after age 60, when your body becomes less resilient to oxidative damage.
So, for seniors trying to reduce inflammation and age more gracefully, seed oils may be doing the exact opposite.
Exactly. And the worst part? They're in almost everything. Processed snacks, restaurant meals, salad dressings, margarine, baked goods, you name it. Unless you read the label carefully, you're probably consuming these oils daily without even realizing it.
What should we be cooking with instead?
Focus on anti-inflammatory fats like extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, small amounts of grass-fed butter or ghee, omega-3s from wild-caught fish like salmon or sardines. These fats are more stable, easier to digest, and actually help activate the body's repair pathways, like the sirtuins that David Sinclair talks about so often.
Do you have an example of someone who made the switch?
Yes, one of my patients, Elizabeth, age 69, had been struggling with joint swelling and fatigue for years. She thought it was just part of getting older. But after we looked at her pantry, we realized most of her cooking oils, salad dressings, and snack foods were packed with soybean and corn oil. We made one simple change. She replaced everything with olive oil, avocado oil, and began reading ingredient labels. Within 6 weeks, her joint inflammation dropped dramatically, her digestion improved, and she said her skin started to glow again.
That's a powerful transformation from something as simple as changing your cooking oil?
Absolutely. It's a small shift that has a compounding effect. Less inflammation means better sleep, better cognition, and even better skin elasticity. And that all adds up, especially after 60.
We've now covered 3 major aging accelerators: sugar, processed meats, and seed oils. And the 4th one might be the hardest for some people to hear, because it's not always seen as unhealthy. In fact, for years, we were told that a little red wine could be good for the heart.
That's true. And for a time, the idea of moderate alcohol as medicine was widely accepted. But newer research is showing that when it comes to healthy aging, alcohol might be doing more harm than good, especially after 60.
So what changed?
Several long-term studies have now shown that even small, regular doses of alcohol can interfere with the body's most important repair functions. One of the biggest concerns is its impact on sleep architecture. Alcohol might help you fall asleep faster, but it disrupts deep sleep and suppresses REM cycles, which are essential for brain detox, hormonal balance, and cellular repair. That's why many older adults who drink, even just 1 or 2 glasses, wake up feeling groggy, dehydrated, or mentally foggy.
And it's not just about sleep, is it?
Not at all. Alcohol also interferes with autophagy, the body's internal cleanup system that removes damaged cells. This system is already slowing down with age, and alcohol impairs it even further. A landmark study in Nature found that even moderate alcohol use significantly reduces the body's ability to clear out cellular debris. That can accelerate inflammation, brain aging, and even increase the risk of metabolic diseases.
So, what would you say to a listener who enjoys a glass of wine each evening and thinks it's helping them relax?
I'd say this: if you enjoy wine, enjoy it intentionally, not as a daily habit. And choose wisely. Red wines like Pinot Noir, for example, have higher levels of resveratrol, a compound studied for its protective effects on the brain and cardiovascular system. But if sleep quality, mental clarity, or inflammation is already a concern, it might be time to step back and observe. Take a 2-week alcohol break and see how your body responds. Many of my patients are surprised by the improvement in sleep depth, mood, and morning energy.
Do you have a patient story that comes to mind?
Yes. James, 74, had been drinking 2 glasses of red wine every night for over a decade. He didn't think it was a problem until he tracked his sleep using a smartwatch. His deep sleep averaged just 30-40 minutes a night. After cutting alcohol for 30 days, his deep sleep tripled, blood pressure normalized, and both he and his wife noticed his memory and alertness noticeably improved.
That's a strong case for rethinking our relationship with alcohol, especially as we get older.
It is. Alcohol is socially accepted, even encouraged. But when it comes to longevity, brain health, and restorative sleep, the science is clear. Less is better, and sometimes none is best.
All right, we've arrived at number 5. And unlike the others, this one isn't a specific food, it's a pattern, a habit that most of us were taught was healthy. We're talking about frequent meals and constant snacking.
That's right. For decades, the advice was eat small meals every few hours to keep your metabolism going. But what we're learning now is that for older adults, this constant feeding cycle actually speeds up aging, not the other way around.
How so?
How so? Every time we eat, especially meals high in carbs or protein, we raise insulin levels, activate the mTOR pathway, and shut down cellular repair processes. The body shifts into a growth state, not a maintenance state. And when you're eating all day long, your cells don't get the break they need to clean up damaged proteins, clear inflammation, or restore hormone balance. Over time, that leads to faster cellular aging, poorer sleep, and even weight gain.
So, eating constantly is actually blocking the very repair systems we rely on after 60?
Exactly, and this is where intermittent fasting comes in. Harvard researcher Dr. David Sinclair explains it this way. When we stop eating for a period of time, the body flips on its longevity genes, like the sirtuins, and starts repairing damage instead of building more. Sinclair himself eats in a compressed window, often skipping breakfast and having just one main meal later in the day, centered on plant foods and healthy fats.
For seniors used to eating 3 meals a day plus snacks, that sounds like a big change.
It can be, but even small steps matter. A simple 12 to 14 hour overnight fast, say dinner at 6 p.m. and no food until 8 a.m., can make a dramatic difference in sleep quality, gut function, and energy levels. And fasting doesn't mean starvation. You can still hydrate, drink herbal tea, black coffee, or warm lemon water. And if needed, a splash of apple cider vinegar can help curb cravings and support blood sugar control.
Have you seen results from this in your patients?
Absolutely. One patient, Linda, 67, was constantly tired, even though she was eating healthy all day long. When we shifted her to 2 meals a day and cut out her nightly snacks, her digestion improved, her sleep deepened, and within 3 weeks, her bloating and joint pain had reduced significantly. She told me, for the first time in years, I wake up and feel clear-headed.
That's powerful. And like so much of what we've discussed today, it's not about doing something extreme. It's about giving the body rhythm, giving it time to heal.
Exactly. Our bodies are incredibly intelligent, but they need space to do their best work. And sometimes the most healing thing we can do is pause.
So, there you have it. 5 everyday foods, or habits, that may be silently blocking your body's natural ability to age well. Sugar and refined carbohydrates, processed meats and excessive animal protein, industrial seed oils, alcohol, and constant grazing with no time for your cells to recover.
Each one may seem small on its own, but over time they create a storm inside the body, damaging the systems responsible for healing, memory, mobility, and even mood. The good news? You don't need to overhaul your entire diet overnight. The most powerful changes are often the simplest.
What to eat instead?
Instead of refined carbs, try chia pudding with almond milk and berries. Instead of processed meat, try warm lentil soup, mung beans, or tofu stir-fry. Instead of inflammatory oils, switch to extra virgin olive oil and avocado oil. Instead of wine every night, explore herbal teas like chamomile or magnesium-rich drinks that help with sleep. And instead of eating all day, give your body time to rest. Even a 12-hour overnight fast can make a difference.
And don't forget the healing power of rhythm. When your body isn't constantly distracted by digestion, it can focus on what matters most: repairing, rebuilding, and renewing from the inside out. So, doctor, before we close, what's the one message you want listeners to remember today?
Healing starts when the body feels safe. And the fastest way to create that safety? A steady rhythm of food, of rest, and of intention, one bite at a time.
That's beautifully said, and a perfect way to end today's episode. To our loyal listeners, thank you for joining us. If today's conversation helped you see food differently, let us know in the comments. What habit are you most excited to change? What result have you already noticed in your own body? And don't forget to share this with someone you care about. Aging well isn't just possible, it's practical, and it starts with a few conscious choices at the table. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe to the Senior Strength Show for more empowering talks on senior health, wellness, and longevity. We'll see you next time here on the Senior Strength Show.